To remove the filler neck, you first have to remove the rubber surrounding the filler opening. So first you remove this little clamp and pry off the hose. I always use like cutting pliers, put them around and then skew it upwards. That's one. Then cut the tie wrap, which holds the breather hose over here. That's all. And then the second part is you have to, let me zoom in, have to press this rubber surrounding inwards. It's easier to use a plier or a screwdriver or whatever, and just put it inwards and upwards to the outside of the car. So that's one. And at one point it gives. This is it. Then you go to the outside of the car. Second part's outside the car. Remove the filler cap. Then gently pry out the bottom hose leak, I don't know what it's called, but this thing. Pry it upwards. Remove the hose that goes down to the downside of the lower side of the car first. Didn't show you that, but because it's gone in my car, but just pry that one out, and then you can just pull it upwards towards you, and it just pops off, and that's it. It's the filler neck rubber, part number 124652. So first up is removing the floor of your trunk. Just flip the first part over. You should see two 8mm bolts holding the back side in, the rear in place. So that's the front. Then you move over to the first part over there, flip it to the back of the car, and there should be 6 or 8, we'll see in a minute, of the same bolts as in the back, and then afterwards you can remove the whole floor. So be careful, this is spring loaded. Oh, and as you can see, I already removed the bolts once before, I don't know why, but they're gone. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these bolts. And afterwards you can lift the floor and pull it out from the back. So next up is removing the cover of the fuel pump, which is in the top of the fuel tank. Mine's fastened with 2 different bolts, one 8mm bolt, but I think this is the original one. So there should be 2 Torx screws holding the plate down, but probably somebody in the past has lost a few of these bolts and replaced them with whatever they had beforehand. So remove the cover. It's kitted down, so you probably need to use some force to pry it loose. And there are 2 cables running through it. First is the fuel gauge wire and pump wire. And this one's, I don't know for sure, I think it's a speedometer for the newer models. So this can be stay in place, but this one has to be disconnected. So over here is another, can you see it? Yeah, you can see. There's another Torx screw for the ground, the pump, and I think the meter. So correctly put it back so we don't lose it. Then disconnect the plug. So that's one, and if you pry it through, you can remove the whole rubber, and it should pop right through. So that one's undone, and then there are three hoses down there. I hope you can see them. It's a little bit dark over there. Maybe if I raise, there you go. 3 hoses. One's the, I think this one should be the main fuel line that runs to the secondary pump, from the first pump to the in-tank pump to the secondary pump that's underneath the car. And this one's a breather hose. No, I'm sorry, the return hose. And this one's a breather, which I have blocked off with a nut bolt. Yeah, so let's remove them. I'm going to do that off camera now, sorry. So as you can see, I removed the hoses, both clamps. My clamps, I've replaced them I think a year, maybe 2 years ago, so mine were pretty good. They are stainless steel also, so I could remove them easily. But the hoses came off a little bit harder. But I managed to get them off, so now the tank's completely disconnected over here, and over there the fuel neck filler is separated from the side of the car. So now we can go to the other side of the car and lower the tank. I don't know how many fuel is in it, because this car has been standing still for 2 years, so hopefully there's not too much in it, otherwise I'll have to pump it out or let it flow in some kind of canister or whatever. So this is the thing hanging from the underside of the car. As you can see, my car hasn't got a rear axle. It's over there because I'm renovating it and doing some modifications to the suspension and whatnot. But the tank should look a little bit like yours, except from all these scuffs, because I've been building a custom exhaust and been fitting it for removing it and fitting it for like a gazillion times. Anyways, there's one bolt over here held, which has been held in place by this bracket, and there are 2 bolts over here and over here, and the other side's the same. There's also 2 bolts on the side over there, 1, 2, and the front of the tank, well, the back actually, if you look from the perspective of the car, is not fixated at all. So that's all the bolts, and I'm going to remove them off camera, and then put the camera back on the stand when I'm going to remove the tank, and you can watch me do that. Oh, and one thing that's nice to mention is that the bolts are all 14 millimeter. So the best thing you can do with these bolts is remove them completely, then put them back and screw them in quite a while. Not like one turn, but maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. So when the tank is probably stuck to the frame rails with I don't know the English word, bitumen, tar or whatever. So it's sticking a little bit, and when you probably should remove the bolts and put them back, all 5 first, and then put a screwdriver, flat screwdriver, in between the frame rails and the tank and pry it loose. But you want to have the bolts in, especially when there's still fuel in the tank, so it doesn't fall down from the car completely at once. So it falls in the, like maybe 10 mil on the bolts, and then you can put your jack underneath the tank and finally remove the bolts and lower it slowly and controlled. So I found out there's probably still a lot of fuel in this tank, just by feeling how heavy it was when the bolts were almost undone. It felt quite heavy, and a tank, I've got one, the busted one laying over here, is quite light, so I think there's still a lot in it. So I whipped up an old fuel pump with some hoses, and I put a hose in the tank. And now I'll just wait until this 25-liter canister is filled, and then I'm going to remove the tank. Hopefully it's empty enough then, we'll see. So I removed as much fuel as possible and put the jack underneath the tank. Now I'm going to remove the bolts and slowly lower the tank. That's one. Jack inside a little bit. So now it's time to lower slowly. So now it's hanging on the filler neck, which is on the other side, and yeah, let's check that one out. Over here you can see the filler necks hanging on the edge of the body panel. And we have to press it down a little bit, and it's hard to do with one hand. Press it down and yank it out. And be sure not to pinch your fingers between the body and the filler neck while in the progress. So keep your hand on the inside, press it down and inside, and it comes out because it's stuck on this ridge. So now we face our next problem, because the tank's hanging like this, and the filler neck makes this move up. So we have this banana shape, and we should, in an ideal world, be able to pull it down and up, like in a, I don't know, this kind of motion. But the tank will hit the body on the left side, so we can't do that. So the trick is to, if you want to keep the filler neck on, you can also remove. There's a clamp I can show you. There's a clamp over here. You can remove this one and then remove the filler neck from the tank, and then you can just drop it and pull it out. But these clamps are, well, not expensive, but kind of hard to get, and they're Volvo, especially made for Volvo. Well, at least I haven't seen them on other cars or other applications yet. So, and they're also always quite rusty, so they'll probably break. So the best and foremost easiest thing to do is to drop the tank with the filler neck too. So if we move back to the back side of the car, so we have this shape like this. So what we are going to do, hopefully, is rotate the tank with the upside to the back of the car. So when the tank's flat like this, we're going to tilt it like this, and then we can move it towards the left rear side of the car, and then the filler neck's not pointing up but forward like this, and we can make this motion because we've got lots of space underneath and in the back of the car, especially when there's no muffler silencer in the back. I always remove them from my cars because they're stupid and they're always rusty and, well, stupid. So let's jiggle it out next and we'll see what happens. So that's it. We've got the complete fuel tank over here. Now let's inspect it and use it on the other car. So I tested the tank by putting it on the sides with some fuel in it. There is still fuel in it and nothing leaked out, so the edges are good. And I cleaned them with a steel brush, as you can see, with all the debris laying around. And then I used bitumen, it's Dutch, tar, some kind of tar, to smear in all the flat spots and edges, so no moisture will get in and continue the rust process. So this will probably be good for a few years, and it saves me €200 for a new tank, so I'm happy. It's going in this shit box. So, okay, bye. So next up we'll be putting the tank back. That will be a little bit hard because there's still fuel in it, and but I did clean off all the bolts, which, as you can see, doesn't really matter, but when I'm laying under the car balancing this tank over my head, I don't want to be the bolts to be rusty and hard to get in place, so this will ensure that they will screw in smoothly. So let's see what happens and if I can pull it off on my own. So it's now hanging on its filler neck. Now it should be able to rotate it up, and keep it in play with the inflation of the jack. Oh yeah, I forgot one thing. I have to replace the fuel lines before I continue. So a little break from the remounting of the fuel tank, because I had to replace the fuel lines from the secondary or main pump. Just depends on your view. Up through the hole. I bought them a little bit oversized so I can cut them to length when the tank's back in. The reason I did that was because of the state of the old fuel hose, which were probably 30 years old and looked like this. Yeah, I thought it would be wise to replace them with some new hoses. It's just was about €14 with new hose clamps, so that's not big of a deal. So now let's get back to mounting the tank. Well, as you could see, I've got the tank in place, but I forgot something. A little error that has to go through the hole and not like this. So let's try again off camera and I'll be back with you and going to finish those things off. So I've managed to put back in the tank, this time with the filler neck properly aligned through the body. When doing this, don't forget there's a, I don't know if I can show it, it's a little dark on there. Over there is a rubber, well, let's call it a gasket, that shuts off the filler neck when it goes through the body, and there's a, you can reach it quite properly if you take off the right hand rear wheel, and you can reach over there. Oh, it's not properly seated over here, but I'll manage that off camera. So yeah, that's that. So one of the last pieces of the puzzle is putting this rubber back. So make sure the body panel is seated properly in this recess in the rubber. Otherwise you will get leaks and everything will get wet in your car and rust even harder. So let's put this on. So put the rubber back. Couldn't film this because there's no space for the camera to be, and I needed both of my hands. But the trick is to shove the rubber over the neck, then punch the small drain hose through the small hole, and then use a flathead screwdriver like this. Switch hands. So you put the screwdriver as close as you can next to the filler neck and then press. The rubber's quite thick here, so you probably won't pierce it anytime soon. And then at one point you can go inside, check if the rubber is all through, and then use the same screwdriver to wiggle it a little bit, and then it pops in, and then it's properly seated, as you can see. Next up is putting back the drain hose in the bottom. It doesn't need a clamp or something, so just shove it in. And then this breather, put it back using the new tie wrap to secure this green line, and then it's onto the fuel hose, and we're almost done. So back inside the trunk. As you can see, I have two new hoses. They're both different sizes, so the thin one, I can show them next to each other. So there's not a lot of a difference, but there is. So the big one's the main fuel line, and the thin one's the return line. And they go, you can also see the connectors being different sizes. So the big one, the main line, goes on that one over there, and a return on this. And yeah, make sure to use proper hose clamps, or well, buy new ones as I did. So I'm going to trim them to size off camera, mount them, and then we'll see if the car still starts. Oh, and wait, we've still got this power connector hanging here. We need to put that back through this plate, and after the test we were going to put back everything, and then we're done, really done. So the fuel pump's all wired up. Let's see what happens. Probably have to turn over a few times because all lines are empty, but hoppa, here we go. Now let's put everything back and enjoy the ride. Goodbye.